Okay, I just wanted to shoot a quick video to share my intentions and where I'm coming from for this 30-day experiment on embrace your insecurities, exceed your love limits. Basically, the premise behind this experiment is that when we become insecure about something, that insecurity acts like a closed door, and it prevents our love from flowing there, prevents us from exploring there, prevents us from feeling like we can be ourselves, regardless to whatever topic we're insecure about. And if you could find a way to embrace that insecurity and to open that door, then you would not only create an opportunity for love to flow into that area where it was previously deprived, but also for you to discover that what's on the other side of that door may have been very different than what you thought was there. A lot of times our thoughts can just sort of run away with a narrative that says that there's something so scary on the other side of our insecurities. And that partially helps to justify why we're insecure. You know, we're insecure because there's something that we feel like that is wrong with us, or that is not quite up to par, or it's not the way that we want it to be. And that if others knew about that, they would judge us. And we would feel like we are inadequate or not enough in the presence of that judgment, or in the presence of somebody who does not seem to be held back in that same way. And so the purpose of this experiment is to find those doors where insecurity has caused the flowing of love to stop, and trying to find a loving or more direct or just like reframing things so that that door can be opened without it feeling like it's like some giant threat to who I am. And then when that's possible, or when that happens, I guess I don't know what's on the other side of each door, but the premise is that instead of trying to convince myself that there's some gift or reward waiting for me for shedding these insecurities, I would just want to instead get to this place where I'm excited to become the me who can open that door. Because you have to grow just to be able to face your insecurities, just to be able to reframe them, and to maybe entertain the chance that perhaps the beliefs that insecurity is built upon are outdated or inaccurate. A lot of those insecurities are probably many years older than you are. They probably happened perhaps during childhood or during adolescence or during some of those formative years. And so when you give yourself an opportunity to cast them under a different light, or to just embrace them and just love yourself for being the insecure person that you are, then you create a different dialogue, an opportunity for a new narrative, where perhaps these things that appear like that are holding you back aren't really holding you back. And perhaps the only thing holding you back all along was the narrative that you were held back. And when you can reverse that narrative, and when you can explore new possibilities, and you can look at yourself differently, and you can love yourself more, then new opportunities become available. But yeah, so the goal is it's going to be a 30-day experiment. Each day I'm going to take some insecurity, probably going to start with the ones that seem the biggest or the scariest or the most long held, and just try to open that door by just talking about that insecurity, and perhaps reframing it, and perhaps opening myself up to becoming the person who no longer holds that insecurity, or becoming the person who no longer hides the fact that he's holding that insecurity. I don't think I'm just going to let go of all the insecurities during this 30 days, but I can get to a place where I no longer have to pretend like I don't have that insecurity, or avoid opportunities that may showcase that I have that insecurity. And because of that, I will feel more free to explore life, and to be myself, and to become more, and to do things that I previously thought I couldn't do. And that is the excitement of opening each door, because in the beginning it'll probably be a little scary. I'll probably be a little like, this is stupid. Like, why do I even have a door here? Like, there are countless other people who are not insecure about this. The very fact that I have a door reflects poorly upon me. And like that's the sort of narrative that divides us and separates us from the greater humanity, just by comparing ourselves in a negative light. And I think instead, we can see this as the fact that everyone has insecurities means it doesn't really matter what you're insecure about. If you're willing to face it, if you're willing to explore it, if you're willing to potentially let go of it, or just potentially be open about where you're being held back, then you're giving yourself an opportunity to connect with people, and you're becoming an example that others might want to follow, and you're becoming an example that you might want to follow, and that your future self may thank you for. And so that's the general intention of the experiment. I wrote a whole write-up down below that I'm sure that will be a little more technical or whatever, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to connect kind of heart to heart, let you know where I'm at, and hopefully this journey proves to be very worthwhile, and something that we can all grow a little from. And even if I don't inspire anyone, even if no one ever checks this out, I want to have this opportunity just for myself to see what it's like when those doors are open, to see what it's like when those channels are not closed off, and to see what it's like when I give myself the opportunity to love myself as I truly am, and not just the expectation to be something that appears lovable in the eyes of others, or appears acceptable in a mainstream sense of the word, and trying to hide behind that persona, which I think makes me more lovable, or I think makes me less apt to criticism. And by opening up and potentially touching on some sore spots, potentially discovering what has been holding me back, and why it doesn't need to anymore, I don't know, a lot of things will be possible. But yeah, so I invite you to kind of join me on this journey. If you're inspired to do some of your own inner work along the way, by all means. If you have any questions for me, or any ideas for how I can possibly open these doors a little wider, or a little easier, or with a little more love, I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm just looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing what opening these doors might do for me, and what they might do for who I decide to be down the road.